Hey, welcome back to Video 2. We're going to take a look at new Active Directory management tools in this video, where we're going to see that the enhancements in Server 2008 R2 have really made AD management easy peasy. So let's go ahead and take a look at what's going to be in this video. I'm going to start you off with the shiny new Active Directory management console. And I gotta tell you, I love this thing. It is so easy to manage your Active Directory users and computers inside of this thing. And I'm going to take you through it step by step. You'll see what it's all about. And I'm sure that probably after about 5 or 10 minutes of seeing that, you're going to be like, wow, this is so nice. This is so easy. And not that the Server Manager and the Active Directory users and computers console wasn't easy, but this is even easier, okay? That's what it's all about, making things even easier. I'm going to show you a new feature as well called the Best Practices Analyzer, and this Best Practices Analyzer will show you all of the little tweaks and modifications that you might want to make to a particular server role. Best Practices Analyzer does work at a per server role level, so I'm going to show that to you. We're going to run the Best Practices Analyzer on the Active Directory domain services role, and we'll probably see it later on in this video series too. We'll take a look at it probably with IIS 7.5 and things like that. And then I'm going to show you how to install your remote server administration tools on Windows 7. And this is very, very cool. You're going to be able to manage a lot of the functionality of your server sitting at your own client computer, assuming that you have Windows 7, that is. This package that we're going to be taking a look at is specifically for Server 2008 R2. Now, there is an RSAT package for the regular Server 2008, of course, as you know, but this is going to make things even easier, especially if you want to delegate out some of your administrative functionality to other users. You know, if you have other members of your IT staff or trusted members of, say, management, and you want to give them the ability to easily reset users' passwords, this is the way to get it done. So let's go ahead and let's go on over to our server. We're going to be moving over to the Hyper-V server. We're going to take a look at, first of all, our domain controller, and then we'll move on from there. So let's go ahead and do that right now. All right, so you see I'm over here on the Hyper-V server, and here is our DC-R2. Let's go ahead and get this guy opened up. I know it's not really the best practice to virtualize a domain controller, right? You and I both know that domain controllers are some of your most busy boxes on your network. But you know that I'm using a virtual domain controller for ease of use in this instance. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at, you're familiar with the Active Directory domain services and Active Directory users and computers already. There's nothing new here really. But let's go into the Start menu and let's go to the Active Directory Administrative Center. This is cool. Now you'll see it's here pinned to my Start menu, but you'll also find it in Administrative Tools and in Active Directory Administrative Center. We can go ahead and access it either way. This might be something that you might even want to go ahead and pin to your taskbar if this is something that you want to use early and often, because you probably will. I know that this is going to be something that you're really going to get a lot of mileage out of. And initially, you'll notice that we have this nice, pretty, bright interface. I like this a lot. Now, you might be thinking, well, this is just kind of window dressing, and, well, at some level it is. But it's so nice. It really is. Let's go ahead and take a quick look here. Now, in terms of resetting passwords, if you know the domain and username, you can just reset the password here super fast and make sure that the user can change their password at the next logon and unlock the account if the account happens to be locked out. Now we can also do a very fast global search. Let's go ahead and do a quick search for my user account Gmoney here. And let's see, here it is. Bam, there it is. It's just that easy. If you need to find a computer, if you need to find a user, if you need to find a group, it's that easy. What else do you want? So anyway, those are just a couple of quick things that you can do. Now, Once you have the user account, you can come over here to the task pane. You can reset the password, add to a group, disable, move, delete, locate, and go into its properties. Let's hit the locate button here real quick, and it'll tell us exactly where this guy actually does live. He lives in the Pacific Users Organizational Unit. Now, if I double click on G-Money here, we'll open this guy up. This is something that I really like as just a sheer hedonistic, easy to use interface. You'll notice here that all the little tab things that used to drive me up a wall are gone. You know, I shouldn't say all of them because let me go ahead and scroll down here, just showing you these are all of the things you would normally see in Active Directory users and computers in a nice, easy to use one-page kind of form until we get all the way down here, and here's the extensions. Now, this is something that you're probably not going to use a lot, but these are all the tabs that you might need to do heavy-duty work, but you may not need these for everyday use, but they are still here. Personal virtual desktops. Yeah, this is something new, actually. I'm going to show you the whole personal virtual desktop thing later on in this video series, but I wanted to point it out to you here because this is a really easy way to get to this particular functionality. But we'll take a look more at that later on. And just so you know, we also have some shortcuts here. These are kind of nice as well. You don't have to scroll all the way down in order to find something. You can just jump straight to the particular item if you want to make a user a member of a particular group. You just go to member of, bam, and you're there. I don't know how much easier I could make this without doing it for you. Now, by the way, you can also decide which sections that you want to have available to you in this interface. So if you want to ace the organization section or the profile section, because those are things that you're not going to really use a lot, then you can turn those off. Or extensions, and you can always turn them back on too if you find out that you need them later. But if there are items that you use early and often, or there's stuff that you don't use early and often, turn them off. It's cool. Also here in tasks, you'll notice here that we have delete, move, disable, reset password, and help, just in case you want a little extra help there. And that's the interface for the user. Let's go ahead and close that one out. Do I want to save the changes? Nah, I'm not going to save the changes to that one. Let's go and let's take a look at the item for the group now. And basically the same kind of thing here. We have the full one-page form. Also, you can maximize it if you so desire, if you want to have this overriding all of your attention. But same kinds of things here. We can go to member of, managed by, group, members, extensions. And we only have 2 tabs in this one. Less tabs, I feel, are better for me. I like this whole one-page thing along with the shortcuts. And again, we have the whole sections thing, so you can turn stuff on and off. And I hate that little tooltip. It kind of keeps sticking here to me. And again, we have the tasks, which are only delete and move and help in this particular screen. So now you'll notice here that I've got items that are showing up here. These are items that are essentially my favorites. These are items that I've gone to a lot as I was kind of messing around with this interface and getting to know it a lot. So when I click here on domain controllers, this is an organizational unit that I've gone to before. And you'll see here that I do have 2 domain controllers running in this particular domain. But if I want to create a shortcut to an organizational unit that I might access early and often, well, up here you see this Add Navigation nodes. Now, this Add Navigational pane over to the side here, well, all I'm really doing is just creating a shortcut. Let's say that I'm going to use Pacific Users a lot, and I want a more or less a permanent shortcut, because as you select different organizational units and whatnot, your favorites, those little items underneath the global mantics that you're seeing right now, they will change. But if I want to create a more or less permanent shortcut, I can simply select the organizational unit, and if you have sub-organizational units, you'll see those containers right here. You select the item that you want to create the shortcut to, hit the double arrows, and it will show up right here. And if you made a mistake, you can always hit this little red X. Now, by the way, you can also create shortcuts to items in other domains that you have responsibility for too. If you have appropriate permissions. So I could connect to another domain. Now I don't have any other domains running right now on any of my machines, but I can just type in the domain name and hit OK, and also have access to those as well. So not only is this just good for this domain that I'm working in, but also any other domains that I may have permissions for. I'm going to go ahead and tell this one OK to add specific users over here to my navigation pane. I can go ahead and hit that one, and these are the only items that I currently have. I have a group and only one user to play with right now. And if I decide that I don't want that particular OU to live in the organizational pane, I can actually right click it and I could hit remove, or I could create a duplicate node, rename it, search under the node. I can hit properties. I can take a look at the properties of this organizational unit. Hey, look, it's that same interface. Neato. Yep, it's that one-page interface here. Now we got a couple of tabs down here at the bottom for those extensions. But again, we have some shortcuts here. We could turn on and off sections that we so desire, and we also have the tasks, delete, move, and help. So I think you're probably seeing the trend here. The boys and girls at Microsoft have simplified the navigation for us here. And one more time here, I just want to point out the global search shortcut in the navigation pane, where you can go ahead and you can do a quick search. So if I do a search for the Seattle group, bam, there it is. Love it. Now, if you are just hardcore attached to the tree view, but you're thinking, okay, I think I can start to get used to this. I think I can get used to this tasks pane. Okay, familiar with that. Not real sure I'm crazy about this kind of view. Don't worry, the tree view is in the second tab here in the navigation node, all right? So if you're just locked into that, don't worry, it's still here. And it has all the stuff in here that you would normally think to find. That's good news. Now, I like this navigation panel as it is, so you're probably not going to see me over here in the tree view. I never liked the tree view that much. Let's go ahead and click right on over here right on the domain that I'm looking at here. Notice here that we can change domain controllers. We can raise the forest function level, raise the domain function level. You know how raising the forest function level, you have to go and find it in a really weird place? And so here we can actually do that quickly and easily. Now you notice here that my forest function level is already Windows Server 2008 R2, which we're going to talk about actually in the very next video when I get into the whole Active Directory recycling bin, which is awesome. You're going to love that too. But you can quickly and easily change these things with these little shortcuts here under the task. Now we have properties here. Let's go into the properties for where are we selecting here? Pacific users. You've already seen that, so we don't need to see that again. So some beautiful things here, right? I mean, this is get to know this thing. Use it early often. Get your head wrapped around it. Get familiar with it. It's going to make your AD tasks so much faster. And also the task for your users, all right, for your IT staff, for your help desk. Because I'm going to show you in just a little bit here how to install it RSAT on a Windows 7 machine so that your help desk and all those folks can get access to this kind of interface too, only on a client. All right, so Keen. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the best practices analyzer next. Let's go here to the Active Directory domain services. Now you notice here I am in Server Manager. Okay, I have turned off the Active Directory Administrative Center. As much as I love it, it can't do everything. Wish it could, but it can't. So we're here in Active Directory domain services, and let's go ahead and scroll down just a little bit. And you notice here is the best practices analyzer. Now you notice here that I've actually already ran it, and you're seeing some results, but this is a per role function. You will see this best practices analyzer. This is a new item in Server 2008 R2 for each role. And let's go ahead and rescan this role here real quick. And what's going to do is it's going to look around on the role, see if there's any little tweaks that we might be able to make to help us be more in line with what Microsoft considers best practices. These are things like security. These are things for optimization, all of that good stuff that usually you have to run around and go find in like a billion places, right? Well, Microsoft has tried to make getting in line with best practices easier by adding in this best practices analyzer. Now you notice here that I have 7 warnings. These are 7 non-compliant items. These are things that I really should go back and do. Let's go ahead and take a look at the first one. All OUs in this domain should be protected from accidental deletion. That's a really good idea, really good best practice. So you're not trashing an entire department or region or what, however you have your OU structure set up. So that's a good idea. Let's see what this next one is. The directory partition should have been backed up. All right, so what is this telling me? This tells me that, dude, you haven't backed up your stuff. So if my stuff gets trashed, I'm going to be SOL, which stands for so out of luck in certain polite company. But anyway, close here. You know, these are all the rest of these are pretty much the same. Let's see here. Let's take a look at the domain controller. This one here, this is a different one. Oh, the domain controller should comply with the recommended best practices guidelines because it is running on a VM, and it gives us more information here about what we should do, which basically says just make sure all of your stuff is in line with best practices. All right, good enough. And if there's any other warnings, it'll tell you. Now here are the compliant items. This compliancy list, these are things that have already been done for me or I have already done in the past. So these are all best practices that are already in place. And here's all the best practices with the warnings as well as the compliance. So now if you're thinking, okay, you know what? I'm not going to mark all of my OUs for non-accidental deletion. I'm going to make sure that I not do that. You know, you think, I don't care about that. If my whole region gets trashed, whatever. Well, I could actually exclude a result from the list. So when I run my best practices analyzer later, it will not show up in my non-compliant. It will show up here in excluded. It doesn't go away. It just moves. Right? So that's really all that does. All right? Nothing surprising. I can always bring that guy back in by hitting include results. And I go back here to non-compliant and it shows back up again. Let's take a look at the properties for this guy. The property just brings up that same screen we saw when we double-clicked on it. You know, that's it. You can also copy the result properties. And let's see if we go ahead and paste those guys here in Notepad. You know, then you can get a text version of those if you so desire, or you can, you know, copy and paste those into an email. All right, so best practices analyzer. Super easy to run, super easy to use. This is great. I think this is a wonderful addition to R2 and something that's going to really help all of us get in line with issues of, you know, those little tweaky issues, you know, for security and all that good stuff. So, all right, so we've seen that. Let's go ahead now. I want to show you next how to install RSAT on Windows 7. So we're going to take a look at how to set up a Windows client to manage a server using a downloadable set of tools that basically are the same thing that we've seen here. Now we are going to see in RSAT, once we have those things installed, that we're not going to have a couple of options, right? And I'll show those to you right now. I'm going to go ahead and close out of my DC, and I'm going to open up a Windows 7 client. Now, this Windows 7 client is, of course, virtualized, and let me show you how I'm logged in. I'm actually logged in as SuperCoach. I'm logged in as my Enterprise Administrator login. And what I've done is I've actually downloaded the RSAT tools already. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just go over to Hyper-V, and I'm just going to pull up the tools. What I've done is I've actually downloaded the RSAT tools, and let me show you where I got those at real quick. Okay, I'm going to go over to Microsoft.com using Internet Explorer real quick. Let me bring that up here real quick. And there we go. So all I did is go to Microsoft.com, just downloaded it real quick. And you notice here that there are 2 versions of this. We have one for 64 and one for the 32-bit edition as well. So make sure that your client and your download are congruent. All right, make sure that if you have a 32-bit client, make sure you're downloading a 32-bit edition of the RSAT for 7. All right, so let's go ahead and get rid of that guy. Thank you very much. And let's go ahead and install RSAT on Windows 7. And then, by the way, I downloaded the 64-bit edition because the edition of Windows 7 that I have Let's make sure that it's a 64-bit. Yep, 64-bit edition of the operating system. Why? Because I like the ability for as much RAM as I can possibly get. That's, just how we roll, right? Now, this is a pretty standard installation, but just like in Server 2008 for the RSAT tools for Vista, the thing of it is that as soon as you install it, the tools are not immediately available to you. So as soon as we get this guy installed, we're going to have to go into the control panel. We're going to have to enable the RSAT tools, and we'll tell exactly which tools that we want. Now, this is going to be advantageous to you. Now, you will notice that this is a Microsoft update kind of file, so we could install this, by the way, using group policy. So if you have an organizational unit of all of your help desk computers and you wanted to install this across a whole lot of help desk computers, you could do that pretty fast and pretty easily. And you already know that, the power of group policy is just utterly amazing. But what we can do is we can install the whole set and then only provide access to particular elements of RSAT as well. But I'm just going to show you the initial set of tools here that are available so you can see what is available to you in RSAT and some of the differences that you're going to see between using the RSAT set of tools versus the server manager. And you're going to find out that we can't do everything inside of RSAT on a client. We are going to be slightly limited in terms of things like adding and removing roles. Right? You're not going to be able to do that no matter what you're logged in under. Now, of course, I'm logged in under the administrator or the enterprise administrator account. So even though I'm logged in as that, I'm not going to have everything available to me. This installation is taking a little bit longer than what I expected, so I'm going to pause the video real quick, and I'll be right back as soon as this guy is done doing its thing. All right, so it has installed, and you see here that as soon as it got done installing, it popped up this window about how to finish out getting the remote server administration tools into your start menu. Now, I don't really need this because I know what it's going to do, but I don't need to restart or anything. I'm just going to close the installation window, and now let's go to the start menu, and now we're going to go to the control panel. What we're going to do is we're going to activate or place essentially those administrative tools into the start menu and essentially make them available to ourselves by going to programs. Let's just go ahead and go to programs here, and we're going to go to turn Windows features on or off. That's where we're going to. Now you notice here that the little administrative logo is right next to it. So if you're not logged in as administrator, or if a user does not have the privileges to turn that particular element on and off, they're not going to have access to that. So you're going to need to get that done from the administration side. Here it is, Remote Server Administration Tools. Let's go ahead and expand that here. And I can turn on and add the Server Manager. Very cool. So I can have the Server Manager available here to me inside of a client. Now, you notice here that we have essentially all of the other tools that are available for our different roles. Let's go ahead and install the Hyper-V stuff too. Remote desktop services, we're going to see that a little bit later on. We'll turn that on. We could add DNS. I don't have a DHCP server running right now, so I'm going to skip that. The file services stuff, I don't really have much on the file services side running right now. Anything I'll do on the file server, I'll do directly on it. Let's go here to feature administration tools here. Let's see what else we got. BitLocker password recovery, failover clustering. We have all these other kind of fun tools. I don't think I really particularly want these. Oh, you know what? Let's go here to the Active Directory domain services and the LDS tools. Let's expand that. And let's take a look inside of here for that. Active Directory Administrative Center. Yes! Yes! That's what I want. All right, so let's go ahead and turn that guy on here. And you notice that Active Directory for Windows PowerShell has also been selected here automatically. So it's really all about the automagic, right? So if I want also network information services tools, I could turn those on. I'm going to skip those for the time being. So I'm just going to go ahead and add these guys in, and I think that's going to be a pretty good set of tools to begin with. Also, if you work a lot with certificate services, we can manage ADCS here as well. I don't have any certificate servers running at this time, so I'm going to skip turning those guys on. If I do end up doing that kind of work, then I can always come back and turn those on. All right, so don't freak out if you're like, oh man, I have to make sure that exactly the tools that I need are all turned on. No, you don't. You can turn them on, turn them off. It's all good. All right, so I'm going to pause the video while this thing is making changes to the features available to me in my Windows 7 client. All right, so it has completed the installation. So let's go ahead and close out of these windows here. We're good for that. Let's go on over to the Start menu now, and let's go to, oh, hey, look, Remote Desktops, keen. Let's go to All Programs and Administrative Tools, and here's all the new stuff that I just enabled. Let's go ahead and get into the Active Directory Administrative Center. There we go. Come on in. Come on up. Now, while that guy's loading up here, let's go back. Let's see what else we have available here to us. We got Active Directory users and computers, so if you're a die-hard AdDuck user and you want to get in and use the basic set of tools. Oh, hey, look, Server Manager. Let's go ahead and right-click on this guy, and I'm going to pin the Server Manager to my taskbar. Here we go. I could also pin it to the Start menu too, but I'm really digging this whole Windows 7 interface where we can just stick stuff that we use early and often right on the taskbar. We don't have to have that quick launch thing. The quick launch was fun, but the icons were kind of small. I wasn't that great a fan of it, but it was better than nothing. I much prefer this kind of an interface here. So it's loading up. It's loading up. And let's see here. Oh, hey, look. Global Mantics R2. Oh, neat. It's already there. Isn't that great? That's great. That's just great. Let's go into Pacific users here real quick. And there we go. G-Money user. Hey, you know what? Let's see if we can add a new user real quick. Hey, look, we can even add users. I know I didn't show that to you earlier, right? Well, I'm showing it to you now. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and put in, Roger, you there. Okay. There we go. So now we'll go ahead and we'll put in their logon, which is are you there? All right, beautiful, beautiful. Let's go ahead and give Roger a password. All right, so user must change password next logon. All the stuff that we would normally put into a user account we could do here. It's super easy. So it's good enough for me for the time being. We're going to go ahead and tell it OK. And again, I'm doing this from the Windows 7 client, right? I'm not on the server, but I am using this Active Directory Administrative Center to create the brand new user. So I'm going to go ahead and add Roger here to the Seattle group. And this, nothing new here. I'm just going to go ahead and put him in the Seattle group. There we go. So now going into the Seattle group, and now we will hit the members shortcut, and Roger is there. All right. So the question of are you there is, well, yes, Roger, he is there. All right. So enough bad jokes. Let's go ahead and close out the Active Directory Administrative Center, and let's go. Oh, you know what? Let's take a look at the Server Manager. Now, the Active Directory Administrative Center, pretty much the full functionality you'd expect is there. Not a problem. When we open up Server Manager, however, first of all, we need to connect to a particular computer. So let's go ahead and let's connect to DC2 R2. And let's go ahead and connect to that guy. And oh, by the way, as this guy's connecting, let me bounce back on over to DC R2. And before we are actually able to use the tools, especially Server Manager, we need to make sure that the domain controller or whatever other machine that we want to remotely administrate is ready to accept those administrative commands. So let me show you how to do that. Here in the Server Manager for DC2 R2, which is again the virtual machine that we were on just a little bit earlier, I've selected it, and now I'm going to go here to Configure Server Manager Remote Management. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to put a check mark here in Enable Remote Management of the server from other computers. Now, you should know that remotely managing the server does expose it to some security risks. And if you want to learn more about that, you just hit this link and it'll take you to that information. Now, I'm not too much worried about this particular machine, so I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Let that guy enable all of the functionality for that, including things like your firewall settings and all that good stuff. Let's go ahead and minimize DC2R2, and let's go back on over here to our Windows 7 client. And yep, it tells me that it can't connect to it. You don't say. Here, let's hit retry, and let's try it again. Now that we have enabled the remote management for the server. And oh, hey, there we go. Okay, so here we go. Here is our server manager. Let's go into the roles, and let's see here. Where's add? Let's see, add roles. No, 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 no. All right, back over here. How about add roles? No, no. We can go to roles. All right, we'll go to roles. Okay, that's neat. But you can't add them. Let's go to features. Can we add features? No, no, you can't. But we can do basic management tasks. Let's go to the DNS server. All right, and let's see what we have here under DNS. Let's go ahead and expand that, DNS. All right, there we go. And DNS is running. That's A-OK. Let's go ahead and scroll down here. Hey, look, it's the best practices analyzer. Neat. Let's go ahead and scan him, huh? Let's see how he's doing in terms of best practices. I haven't really done much through the DNS, just so you know, so we'll see what we come back. Looks like everything's good. All right, cool. So here's my compliance items. So looks like everything is golden there, no problem. And I don't have any excluded and no non-compliant items. So the DNS server basically installed right out of the box under the best practices stuff. So that's good news and quite fun. All right, so that's the one hitch though that you need to be aware of, is that you can't add roles, you can't add features when you're remotely managing it. All right, so let's go ahead and close out of our server manager. That's good enough for that one. And let's go and let's see what else we got under here under administrative tools. We have sites and services, directory, users and computers, add, see, edit. Ooh, that could be fun. Computer management, all the rest of the standard administrative tools that you are very familiar with by this point in time. And also, here's something we're going to see a little bit more about, but PowerShell. PowerShell is very quickly becoming one of my more favorite tools. You know already that I'm a big fan of batch scripts, right? And using the PowerShell tools, there's some very cool stuff that you can do, which I'll show you when we'll get a kind of a preview of PowerShell and the PowerShell editor in the next video when we do the Active Directory recycling bin. All right. So you have seen what we are able to accomplish, right? What we've done is we've taken a look at some of the new tools, some of the new features, and RSAT for Windows 7, so we can do basic core management tasks inside of a client. We don't have to be in the server room, and we don't even have to remote desktop in. Now, can you still remote desktop in R2? Sure you can, not a problem. But this makes life just a little bit easier, especially if we provide access to that Active Directory Administrative Center to help desk users. Something to think about. All right, let's go ahead and back on over to our slides, and let's go ahead and do a wrap up and move on. All right, so after watching this video, you should be able to engage the Active Directory Administrative Console. And by the way, when you install your Active Directory domain services, it gets installed automatically. All right, so you don't have to worry about doing anything magical in order to make that happen. It's just there, all right, which is a beautiful thing. Of course, you also know that you know how to run the Best Practices Analyzer to find best practices for your particular roles. Remember, that is a per server role. It doesn't do best practices for the entire server all at once. You have to go into each role and run the Best Practices Analyzer to find those little tweaks that are going to help enable best security, optimization, and all those kinds of good things. And last but not least, you also now know how to install RSAT for Windows 7. You know where to go find. Just go to Microsoft.com, do a quick search for RSAT on Windows 7. Just get that guy installed. Make sure you go to your Windows control panel And under programs, make sure you turn those particular features on. And also remember that in order to use those tools, the account that you're logged in under, or whatever user's logged in under, needs to have permission to make modifications to the particular server role that you want them to manage using the tools on the client. All right. Hey, I hope you're excited about seeing some of this new stuff already. And we're just hitting the tip of the iceberg right now. Let's go ahead and move on to the next video. So stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.